Hello, welcome to the DAMES webinar series. At DAMES, Differently Abled Mothers Empowerment Society, we strive to empower parents who are raising children who have a disability. We hope that you enjoy this webinar and that it's helpful to you and your family. Enjoy. Hello, DAMES members. Oh my gosh, 2020 is almost over. I can't even believe it. It has been a year, right, for everybody. It's just been a crazy year. But I'm so happy about the amount of webinars that DAMES has been able to do for this community this year because we've all been home. This is what DAMES was really built for, was to provide help and care to mothers who are home. And so everyone has been home for the last year, really. And we've just been so happy that we've been able to increase the amount of webinars and support that we've been able to give this community. And today I'm really excited to have Jess Amato here with us because it's the end of the year and we all plan New Year's resolutions. And it's kind of hard to stick to those all year round. And so she's going to give us some good ways to build in self-care, to build in fun, to build in recreation into our New Year's resolutions. So I met Jess through the Disability Resource Connection, and I absolutely love what her mission is. This year she founded Platform to Play. She is a recreational therapist, and it's all about giving our children access to recreation just like every other kid. So I absolutely love, Jess, what you're doing and what your platform is. And I'm so excited for you to be here today to kind of help us get started on our New Year's resolutions.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the introduction and such kind words. I'm just as excited to be here. When we actually spoke a couple months ago, and it's wild to think we're here. We've all made it. We've survived year 2020, where we're coming to the close of it all. And it's incredible because now's the time where it's like we could celebrate. We've gotten through one year and we're gearing up for another year. And that's, like you said, New Year's resolutions. This is what it's about. And I hopefully today helps us realize that, New Year's resolutions, it's more about like, how can we set ourselves up for success? So as you'll see, the title for today is Building Resilience Through Leisure. And that's because when we set up resolutions, it's because we're trying to incorporate components into our life that really matter to us, that support our self-care and our well-being. And it's hard to achieve that over and over again unless we just make it a part of our lives and a part of our day-to-day. So hopefully today everyone can get a little bit more out of just how do I start a New Year's resolution, and more about how do I what is the importance of self-care and leisure in my life, and how do I integrate my own awareness of who I am and what my reality is into my day-to-day life to set myself up for success. So hopefully that's what we get out of today. Before we dive deeper, I do want to just formally introduce myself. As Michelle had mentioned, my name is Jess Amato, and I'm the founder of Platform to Play, as well as by trade, I'm a recreational therapist. So I've spent the last 15 years developing programs and running programs for children with disabilities throughout the United States and internationally. As recreational therapy, what we do is we use recreation, play, leisure, any type of motivating activity or opportunity to help someone achieve functional outcomes. So I have worked extensively with children with and without disabilities. My expertise is around inclusion and how to make sure that people of all ages, of all abilities, or have the opportunities to participate in what it is that they want to participate in, what it is that they need in order to meet their highest potential. And I've actually designed and implemented and been a part of a few different incredible projects internationally in Vietnam and Ghana, Malawi, and my most recent one and largest one was in Zimbabwe. And really just using play and recreation as a way to guide social inclusion. There's so many times, and as parents of children with disabilities, you know this and you understand this, that there's so many times that whether it's the intention or not, children with disabilities and people with disabilities are just naturally excluded from situations and from experiences. So my passion is around using recreation to bring a community together, recreation to bring individuals of all different abilities and ages and interests together in order to participate and experience positive shared experiences together. So I did start Platform to Play, and it's all about creating awareness, autonomy, and explicit opportunity for play. And again, my expertise comes from the lens of a recreational therapist working with children with disabilities and their families. However, I've worked with all ages, all populations, and I'm really excited that within my new Platform to Play, I'm able to provide even more support directly to parents, because my true belief is that children, when you're working with children, there's so many adults in their lives that really are the ones that have a lot of the autonomy around, the advocacy for advocating for them, and even just making sure that they are achieving their highest potential. So through my experience, I've learned that you as the parents are the key to it all. You know your children better than anyone. You know your family better than anyone, and you have the ability to advocate and integrate what needs to be integrated into your family's lives, because it's your life, that's your day to day. So I'm so happy through Platform to Play to be able to directly connect with parents and hopefully give you some resources and tools, and share them. So before we fully dive into everything, you'll see that throughout this whole entire webinar, I am a recreational therapist and I can't take that hat off. So even though this is a recording and most of you are going to be watching this on your own, we are going to go through some activities together, and I am going to give you the time to participate in those as we go, primarily because I value your time and I don't want you to have a homework activity to do after you watch this webinar. So I really want you to, if you're sitting down and you've dedicated 45 minutes or so to yourself right now to watch this webinar, then I want to maximize on those 45 minutes. So if you can just make sure you have a pen and piece of paper out for you, or whatever you like to take notes with, because we are going to write down a few things in certain activities that we're going to do. So the first thing we're going to do is I want to give everyone about 1 minute to think about what you would share about yourself in just 30 seconds as an introduction to new people. So it could be simple statements and facts. It could be a quick story, but the main rule is that it needs to be something, it needs to be an introduction about you. We already know that you're a parent. So I'm going to ask that when you're thinking of what you would say as an introduction, that it doesn't involve your children, it doesn't involve your family, but thinking about how you would introduce yourself and who you are. Obviously, being a parent, being a mother is going to be a part of that, but I really want to challenge you to think beyond your role as a mother. So I'll go first, just like a quick introduction. So I took about a minute to write this down. So here's my introduction. I'm a recreational therapist by trade and the founder of Platform to Play. I believe in the power of play to guide social inclusion and support people of all abilities and ages in meeting their highest potential. I have an extensive passion for travel, and I value friendship, loyalty, and adventure. I believe my professional experiences have helped me to continue to challenge myself to be the best version of myself every single day. I've learned from every child with and without a disability that I've worked with and their families, and all of it has been through positive shared experiences and play. So that would be how I would introduce myself to a group. So I'm going to give you, just take about 30 seconds. If you're watching this, just quickly, just jot down, even if it's just key facts. You're not going to be sharing it, but I want you to go through the process. So if you could just take a couple seconds to jot down an introduction, that would be great. All right. So obviously feel free to keep jotting things down or come back to this at another time, but I want to make it known that, I chose this activity to encourage you to step outside your role as a mom and reconnect with who you are, how you identify beyond being a mother, and what you're passionate about outside raising your beautiful children. Because this webinar is about you. So many times it's hard for a parent to take that hat off and focus on me and focus on what I want and what I need in this life, because you're so connected to your family and your role as a parent. So just think about this for a moment. Was it challenging for you to consider how you would introduce yourself outside of being a mom? Were you able to identify your own interests and maybe characteristics you don't think about on a daily basis for who you are, which is outside your role as a mother? And again, you could say these out loud if it helps you, or you could just think about them to yourself, right? Because so many times, as a parent, it's really, really hard to disconnect from that role. And it's important to disconnect from that role. And that's something that we're going to talk about today. So, for today, we are going to discuss the importance of self care. We're going to discuss the connection between leisure and self-care. And you'll notice as I go on and as I speak that when I talk about leisure, leisure is any activity for fun. It could be anything and it looks different for everyone. So when I think about leisure and I think about self-care, they kind of go hand in hand, because self-care as well is what helps you take care of yourself, what is important to you, and that looks different for everyone, and we'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about our individual health and well-being, and we're going to do a quick activity that'll help you kind of become more aware of your own health and well-being and where and how you truly feel about certain aspects of your life right now. And then we're going to discuss the most important thing, which is strategies for integrating leisure and self-care into our lives. And it says it in my mission. I'm a strong believer that awareness is the most important piece of knowledge that we could have. That I could give you all the tools, but your own awareness of yourself, your own awareness of how you feel, what your reality and what your life is like, is the most important to help you integrate any type of change into your life, or to just be successful in your life. So it's been a difficult year, and this is all about setting ourselves up for success. So, as I said, self-care and leisure, they're interconnected. There's no secret that self-care is important. I practice yoga regularly. It's how I take care of myself. And one of my yoga instructors said a few years back that taking care of everyone else before yourself is like driving a friend to the hospital on an empty tank of gas. And that really stuck with me. It made so much sense, because so often we're so worried about everyone else in our lives. But if we don't take care of ourselves first, we can't help them. In order to help people the way that we want to and take care of our family and our loved ones the way that we want to, we need to make ourselves a priority. So we're going to do a quick activity, just a mindfulness activity. So I just like to ask you to just close your eyes, wherever you are, wherever you're watching this, just close your eyes, and we're just going to take 3 deep breaths. So we're going to breathe in all the way so that your chest rises and you could barely take in any more air, and breathe out. Breathe in and out. And then for this last one, I want you to sigh it out. So breathe in. Sigh it out. Keeping your eyes closed, I want you to begin sensing what you're feeling right now. Think about what your day has felt like so far. Think about what challenges have come up, or maybe what successes you've already accomplished. Maybe some tasks that you have to complete still. What you're looking forward to this afternoon or this evening, maybe what you're looking forward to for your New Year's Eve plans, and just let yourself feel the emotions within. So, keeping your eyes closed, just sense what you're feeling right now. The beauty is there's no right or wrong answers. So be honest with yourself. This is something that's difficult is we answer questions with what we think they should be and what we think how we think we should feel rather than what the truth is. So once you feel like you've had a good sense of how you feel, I want you to open your eyes and I'm going to ask a few follow-up questions. I would like to have you reflect on the first question is who are those feelings and answers about? Were they about yourself and what you have to do today and how you feel? Or was it about how your child or your family might be feeling? Who were your questions about? What were your feelings connected to? Was it connected to you or was it connected to everyone else in your life? So these are some questions to ask yourself. You could jot them down, the answers down if you'd like, or just think about them for a moment. The first question is, what have you done for yourself today? What does your self-care look like? So when you think of self-care, what does it look like to you? How do you take care of yourself? How does your self-care connect to your role as a parent? Own health and well-being in order to best support your children and family. So sometimes we think it's selfish to put ourselves first and to think about our own health and our own well-being before we accomplish all the tasks we have in the day. But how often do we think about how taking care of ourselves directly supports our role in our families' lives, even in our professional lives? So, self-care. Oftentimes, we wear the weight of the ones we love on our shoulders and forget to love ourselves just as much. I'm going to repeat that because it really, really it's a heavy statement. Oftentimes, we wear the weight of the ones we love on our shoulders and forget to love ourselves just as much. Self-care allows us to be the best we can be for the ones we love. And as I've said, self-care looks different for each of us. So self-care for someone could be, for me, my self-care is I need to, first thing in the morning, I have a meditation practice that I do. I listen to some music, I do some dancing, I do some movement. That is my self-care. That sets me up for a day of success. That sets me up for being in the right mindset. And no matter what comes my way, I'm grounded at that moment. For someone, it could be getting your nails done on a weekly basis. It could be going for a walk. It can be just journaling. I mean, it could really be anything. But what is your self care is going to be what's different for someone else. And then leisure. Leisure is what we choose to do during our free time. So leisure is anything. It's what do you do on your downtime? What do you do for fun? What do you do just because? What is something that makes you feel at ease? What is something that makes you feel just comfortable where you could forget the rest of the world's stressors? It can be anything. And again, just like self-care, self-care and leisure, they're interconnected. Self-care is leisure, leisure is self-care. So for leisure, for people, it could be hiking, it could be riding bikes, it could be it could be traveling, it could be going on road trips, it could be journaling, it could be reading, it could be walking your dog, it could be playing games with your family. Leisure could be anything. It's what helps you decompress from life. What do you do for fun? What do you do that you genuinely do it because you enjoy it? The biggest challenge for all of us is making the time for it. It's making the time for our own leisure. It's prioritizing our own self care. That is the biggest challenge. Leisure supports our health and well being. And we're going to talk about how it does. And again, this goes back to the mission of awareness. It's so important to build the awareness and the knowledge around why we need leisure in our lives, why we need self care in our lives, in order to be motivated to integrate it into our lives. So, through leisure, we disconnect and decompress from life stressors. So I always think about, whenever I talk about leisure, I always think about towards the end of high school and through college, I was introduced to snowboarding. And it was the one activity that when I was on the mountain, nothing else existed. Nothing else. It didn't matter how good of a day I had, how bad of a day I had. It didn't matter what challenges I was dealing with in that moment in my life. As soon as I was on a mountain, everything else disappeared. The only thing that was in my present moment was what mattered. And to me, that was my direct connection to myself. And that was the activity that I did over and over and over again in order to disconnect from life stressors. Because we need to, it's so important to have that balance in our life. And through leisure, we balance out our life from life stressors, from challenging moments. Life is not pretty, life is not easy. So we need that opportunity to balance it out in order to stay well and healthy. Um, Even just thinking about work and play, so often, I mean, work is such a big part of our lives. It's how we put food on the table, it's how we support our families financially, it's how we feel good about ourselves, is the accomplishment through work. But work is work, and no matter how much you like work, it's still work. So it's so important to have that downtime, to just have fun, to just enjoy, to get that balance out of life. Otherwise, if you're just always stressed and always focused on work, you're just missing out on the beauty of life. But two, you're not setting yourself up for success. You're not going to be at your best, at your high, meet your highest potential, because there's not a good, you're not balanced out enough. Through leisure, we experience joy, laughter, and excitement. Leisure puts a smile on our face. Just think about, if you're still uncertain of your own leisure, just think about kids, think about your children. Children have so much fun. Children play, children interact with one another. They manipulate their environment by doing fun, ridiculous challenges and thinking up different ways to use their imagination. That is joy, that is laughter, that is excitement. That's something that we all need in our lives. And through leisure, we connect with ourselves and with one another. And this comes back to, for me, my yoga practice, it helps me connect with myself, so that no matter what's happening around me, I'm grounded with myself. And it also helps us connect with one another. And we're going to talk about that as one of our strategies, because when we engage in activities together and when we play together, whether it's with our families or our friends or, our coworkers, we are connecting with each other on a different level, which changes our dynamics of our relationships with one another. We're social creatures. We need to feel a sense of belonging and connectedness to those around us. That's all of us as human beings. No matter how social you are or how non-social you are, no matter how much you like people or dislike people, we are social beings. It's something that we need. Our mental and emotional health is connected to our social health. So we'll talk about how those things connect, but if you think about it, socially, when we connect with other people, it helps us feel better. It affects our emotions, it affects our mental state. Moving our bodies is so important. It stimulates the production of endorphins, which are responsible for making us feel happy. I mean, if you move your body, a chemical goes through your body that actually helps you feel happy. And it even helps with pain, which is incredible. Just to think moving our bodies can help us with physical pain as well. And then challenging our brains stimulates critical thinking and problem solving abilities. So the more we challenge ourselves and like step outside of our comfort zone and try new things and do things that we've never done before or that are more difficult for us, it helps our brains keep working and developing, and it helps us be more productive. So we're more productive the more we challenge ourselves. And then lastly, we build confidence, self esteem, and endurance as we try these new things and challenge ourselves. So just think about the last time that you really challenged yourself, that you stepped outside your comfort zone, whether it was professionally or just through your own leisure. And think of the sense of accomplishment and pride you had, right? The patting yourself on the back. I did it, I'm good. That is what leisure is all about and how it helps our health and well being. So for our so when we talk about health and well-being, I'm going to go over there's so many different theories out there, different models, wellness models, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. There's so many things out there. And they all say the same exact thing. Health and well-being. We have certain categories that make up our health and well-being. So our health and well being is impacted by the following areas: our physical health, which is our diet, our physical activity, our sleep, exercise, right? Physically, how we're feeling when we think about health, our social health. So, when I think of social health, I'm talking about our connections to other people, our relationships, the environment that we're in, and how we're impacted by the environment that we're in, and our community involvement, how involved we are in a community or not. Our emotional health, which is our awareness, our acceptance, and our ability to regulate our feelings, right? We all have feelings. Emotional health is a part of all of us. It's just how aware are we of them? How accepting are we of them? Are we able to manage them? Spiritual health. Spiritual health is for some people, it's religion, it's spirituality, but thinking of spiritual health more in what our meaning is, what is the meaning of life, what is our purpose, right? What is our life's purpose? Um, I don't know any of you, but for me, mostly every single mother I've ever met and spoken with and worked with, they felt a strong feeling that their life's purpose was to take care of their children and raise their children to be the best that they can be, and especially parents of children with disabilities, to be their child's advocate. That is a purpose. That is part of your spiritual health. Intellectual health. This goes with your ongoing learning, your ongoing creativity, kind of that challenging yourself beyond just the day to day, right? How do you challenge yourself, and what is your what opportunities are there for growth and for learning from within? And then the last one may seem a little out of place, but the reality is our professional world is very important. Um, our occupation and any accomplishments we've had, any successes we've had. So I include this in health and well-being and it being impacted by it, because whether you are a stay-at-home mom, whether you work full-time and take care of your family, whether it doesn't matter. Your occupation, your accomplishments all impact your health and well-being. So I want to quickly go through another fun little game. It's more fun when everyone's here together, but I want you to go through it yourself. And we're gonna play a quick game of Never Have I Ever. And it's not really a game because it's just I'm gonna say a few things and I want you to be thinking of if they're true for you or not. And really, this is just an opportunity to connect to the importance of being aware of what your reality is, of what our reality is, and how it truly does impact our health. So, never have I ever been so busy I forgot to eat. I know I could say I've been so busy I forgot to eat. Never have I ever spent an entire week without 30 minutes of downtime for myself. Never have I ever made a New Year's resolution just to forget about it before February. Never have I ever forgot what my own passions and interests are. Never have I ever forgot my own birthday. It happens. Never have I ever forgot the last time I engaged in an activity that had nothing to do with my children. There's two more. Never have I ever ran an errand just to get out of the house. And the last one, it's funny, I had reached out to a couple of my friends for like truths and experiences that they've had. And one of them, this is my favorite one, that they said that they've done. Never have I ever eaten dessert in hiding. So it's so important to build awareness of our own reality, right? If any of those were true for you, then hopefully you're chuckling at yourself right now and saying, yep, I'm a mom. That's my reality. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just about the awareness and acceptance of this is life and this is your reality. But I do want to build awareness of one's reality, and I want to do it through this next activity, where hopefully you have that piece of paper and pen, because this is where it's going to come in handy. I want to go through, I want to have everyone go through the so you can see on the slide still that we have physical health, social health, emotional, spiritual, intellectual, and occupation. And I want you to just write a scale, a 1 to 10, for how satisfied you are in each of these areas. So however you want to do it, you could just jot them down, whatever you want, but I definitely want you to at least write out, like, so for physical health, 1 being I'm not satisfied at all, 10 being I'm the most satisfied I'd ever been in my entire life with my physical health. And it could be whatever it means to you. It doesn't have to be, again, this is just for you and your own awareness. So take a couple minutes, take a couple seconds to be honest. Write the first number that comes to mind for each of these. Don't put down what you think, what you want to feel, or what you think you should feel. Put down the honest truth. No one else is going to see this but you, of how satisfied you are right now in each of these areas of your life. And then when you've finished that, so if you're still doing it, that's perfectly fine. But when you finish that, the next 2 things are, I want you to write down next to each one way you currently support this area, each area. So for physical health, I currently support that by doing yoga every morning. So one way, so it could be an activity, it could be something mindfulness, it could be something that you say, something that you do, one way that you support each area. And then the other part of it is one way you aspire to support each area. So this is where that change comes in. So if for your social health, currently you feel good about your, maybe your social health you feel is at a 4 because of the pandemic, and the way that you connect is you play board games with your family every Saturday night. So that could be what you currently do to support that area. But one way that you aspire to support it so that you go from a 4 maybe to a 6 could be that you add a Zoom call with your friends that live cross country, or you up it, and instead of just doing board games on Saturdays, you also do one game as an activity every night before bed, whatever it may be. So just take a couple minutes, and I want you to do it now because I don't want this to be a homework assignment for you later. All right. So hopefully you've been able to at least get the awareness of jotting down how you feel 1 to 10. Hopefully for most of them, you're able to put something that you're currently doing. And if you're not currently doing something in an area, there's a great piece of awareness, right? There's something that's missing. There's something that you need to figure out where to incorporate. That helps you figure out where you need to incorporate changes in your life. And hopefully, if you came up with a couple ideas for how you can aspire to support those areas, that's great too. And notice that these areas are interconnected. So, what you do for your social health could be directly what you do for your emotional health. So, you don't need different things for each of them, right? My morning routine covers me in my physical, social, emotional, and spiritual health. So every morning, my first hour or two, when I do my morning routine, it covers 4 of these areas. So let's talk strategies. We're going to finish up with strategies. Hopefully these, even just the discussion around and some of these activities are already helping you understand strategies and think of strategies for yourself. But number one, self-awareness is so important. I've said it so many times. Being connected with yourself and knowing what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what you like, what motivates you, right? Because if we're looking at incorporating more self-care and leisure into our lives, support us ourselves and our families, then we need to be picking things based on what we like, what is motivating to us. Because if it's not motivating and you're doing it out of obligation, you're not going to continue it. So with self-awareness, think about trial and error, right? So you might try something and figure out in a week from now it just doesn't work for you, so then you switch it up. So don't feel like what you start today needs to be what you do for the next 5 years. It's being able to be flexible with yourself and aware enough about what's working, what's not working, what you're enjoying, what you're not enjoying. So self accountability is so important. And the reason why self accountability is so important is that no one is going to make you a priority but you. Even if there's people in your life that take care of you, no one is going to hold you accountable for making sure you take care of yourself. Now, we have loved ones in our lives and friends and family that will say, "Are you doing okay?" And they'll do check ins and they'll ask, "Well, have you gone to the gym lately? Or have you done any of your meditation? Or, have you seen any of your friends?" You have people that'll check in with you and that helps hold you accountable. But the most important person to hold you accountable is you. And that's because this is your life and your life is what you make of it. And as much as everyone else in your world may want you to be happy and successful, you're the person that needs to make sure you're sticking with what is setting yourself up for success. So it's so important to hold yourself accountable, that whatever you try it and you stick with it and you figure it out for you and don't just give up. Because if you give up, all it's doing is it affecting you and then affecting your role as a parent. Be kind to yourself and patient with yourself. I have mornings where I want to sleep in and then I have a busy meeting, and before I know it, I didn't get to do my own self-care. And the most important thing that I could do in those moments is stop and say it's okay. It is okay. Like you know what? I'm a work in progress and that is okay. So today wasn't good, tomorrow will be better. And me recognizing that in that moment is what helps me take care of myself that day. So nobody's perfect. You're not going to be able to accomplish everything you want to do in every single day. So being kind with yourself, kind to yourself, and patient with yourself is going to be the most important strategy that I could offer up. There's three things that I want to talk about the importance of creating. So it's really important to create boundaries. And when I say boundaries, I mean that it's important to create boundaries with yourself, but boundaries with your family and with your loved ones. Especially now, we're spending a lot more time at home. A lot of us are working remotely from home. A lot of your children are home remotely learning, or they're in and out remotely learning, depending on the week and what's going on. So it's really important to set boundaries, and it's really important to, when I say boundaries, it's setting those expectations for yourself but communicating them to the people in your life. So it's going to make more sense when we talk about time and space, but if there's a certain time of the day or a certain space that is for you, and that's where you're going to do your self-care, right? So every morning at 5 a.m. I'm going to commit to myself. Then it's important to set those boundaries with your family so they know between 5 and 6 in the morning, this is my time. You need to set that expectation, because people, your family, your kids they're going to keep needing you. They're going to keep wanting you. And there's times that you have to drop what you're doing and help them. But the more you set that as an expectation and as a boundary, the more integrated it becomes as a part of your life. So it's really important. A lot of us, we're all affected by our environments. So I remember as a young kid learning that I should never do my homework or study in bed, that I should always, the only thing I should do in bed is sleep, because your brain is so used to, when you get in bed, everything, you kind of, you decompress, you close down for the night and you go to sleep. So if you study or do homework in bed, then you're constantly fighting that energy. So growing up, I always learned that, you do your homework and you study at your desk and you sleep in your bed. And that is so important, and that's something that I've continued to live my life based that way, is that I only do certain activities in certain locations of my home. And that's the same, that's something that I encourage you to do, is create, where's the space, where's the environment where you can take care of you. It could be in your garage, it could be in your living room, it could be, in your bathroom. I mean, it could be anywhere that for you is a place that you can dedicate to. Okay, when I'm in this space, this is for me. And I'm sure a lot of you with homeschooling, right, with remote learning right now, there's probably a space that your kids do homework and that they're in school. It's the same concept. So creating an actual space, like a physical space where you can participate in whatever self-care it is that you're looking to integrate into your life. And a time. um, some of us are morning people and some of us are are night owls. Some of us like to work out and do things right in the middle of the day at noon, during, to just give ourselves a break for the day. And again, this is something that you don't have to stick with all the time, but give it trial and error, what works for you. For me, I have to do my routine in the morning. If I don't do it in the morning, then it just, like, the rest of my day is a mess, and then I never get to it. More importantly, I never get to it. So I do everything first thing in the morning before I interact or communicate with anyone or look at my phone or do anything. And that's my time for me. So creating a time, creating it in your schedule, right? You're all moms, you like schedules, you like to know what to expect, creating the schedule around your own leisure, your own self-care. And again, once we understand that there's a time and a space, then that's where we could create the boundaries and the expectations with our loved ones, with our family, so that they know this is my time. It's important. It's also important because then you're modeling it for your children. it's so important. Your children do what you do. So if you model how important it is to take care of you, your kids are going to take care of themselves as they get older and be able to integrate that into their lives. It's so important to be mindful about your experiences. So you really want to make sure that you're not just going through the motions, that you're present, that you are reflecting on how your experiences make you feel, how they could make you feel better, what things you can change, right? So being in tune with yourself so that you're present and mindful with your experiences is going to allow you to continue to be motivated to continue to get that feeling back. And the last thing, and this is so important, and this is what a lot of my parent sessions are about and youth sessions are,
For me,
engage with your family in play and recreation. Have it be one activity a day. It could be a 5-minute activity. You could just everyone gets to choose every night. Everyone gets to choose a different song, and the whole family just sings and dances along to it in the kitchen. It's as simple as that. Play doesn't need to be, recreation and leisure do not need to be hours long. It could be 3 minutes, it could be 30 seconds. Any type of engagement as a family helps build it into the culture of your family. When you engage as a family, it helps you create those boundaries and understanding that this is something that's important for all of us. And now is mommy's turn to take care of mom. So that's it for today. But I do want to make sure that everyone is aware that I would love to connect with you. You could email me directly at jess@platformtoplay.com. You could sign up. So I offer free virtual parent sessions that you could sign up for through my website, platformtoplay.com. The next one is next Thursday, the 7th at 6 p.m. It actually might be at 6:30 p.m. It'll be on the website, but all of these sessions, they give you an opportunity to play. It gives you that 30-minute break of, I'm just going to play and I'm going to interact with adults, and I'm also going to learn strategies and network and learn supports for engaging with my children and just with my own self-care. And you could follow me on social media. Everything is at Platform to Play. And please reach out, email me if you have questions, if you want to connect. I would love to see some of you at my next parent sessions. They're free and they're for you, and they're a great time and experience where we could really engage with one another. So thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to seeing you all in the future and hopefully connecting some more.
Jess, thank you so much. That was so wonderful. Dolores, do you have
Thank
any
you.
questions for Jess before?
No, thank you. I really like it. I really appreciate it to, to remind us what we need to do for us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, of course. Well, thank you for taking the time for yourself today. It's
Yep. Yeah,
not
thank
the
you.
easiest, but even
Yep.
just an hour webinar can,
Yeah.
it's supporting yourself.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Of course, of
definitely.
course.
Okay.
Thank you
Definitely.
so much for having me.
Yeah, Jess,
Okay.
I really just wanted to kind of go back to that last slide where you were talking about the three really important things about self-care, which was that whole dynamic of boundaries, time, and space.
Yeah.
And I think that those three things are just so critical because they're really the three pillars that I think we have a hard time with as parents sometimes, carving out that space for us. Where is our space in our own house? Like what space is my, like for me, and not just for the family. You know, like we have like man caves, and it's like I love that she sheds became a thing because it's like, oh, it's like a place for us. And
Yeah.
we need that calming space because sometimes our family home space is chaotic. I mean, my house is always messy. We have toys like crazy, things are everywhere.
Yeah.
But in my little office, I can kind of go and close the door. Everything is neat and orderly, and I have candles, and I always try to get like the cheapy $5 flowers, and like I always have something that's kind of calming and warm and centering
Mhm.
that's just for me, and I can close the door, and it's like, like this is my little happy place inside of my own house.
Yeah, and I think, the most for me, my advice to anyone that's struggling with like, how do I make time for me? How do I, my biggest piece of advice is if you integrate, if you create a culture of play and of fun in the house and of engagement in the house, then it's a part of the family dynamic. So then when mom is like, okay, it's mom's time to do something that I need to do, there's more of that understanding of that boundary, right? So if, kids, the thing is, as mothers, you're always, you will drop everything for your children, and children are smart, they know that. So they know at any given moment, I want mom's attention, I can get it, right? So, and there's nothing wrong with that, except for the fact that that's just constantly stretching you too thin, and it's constantly weighing on you. As much as you love it and you're like, of course this is my purpose, of course I'm here for this, it's like, but in order to continue to strive on that area, you need to take care of you. So if there's more, if your children are seeing you play, and if you're engaging with them and interacting with them, and they're seeing that the importance of them to have their time, their alone time, their downtime, right? How many times do kids come home from school and they just have complete tantrums and meltdowns because they've been so like wound up all day, and now they're decompressing, and their decompressing looks like a meltdown. So as they start to understand that, we're all humans and this is just a part of life, then it helps build that expectation and boundary for you as the mom. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love that. Well, and it's funny too. I've gotten to a point with my daughter, especially, where if I'm like, I'm stressed out, I'm gonna paint for a minute. If you
Yeah.
want to grab your art stuff and you can sit next to me and you can paint with me, that's fine. And so sometimes she'll bring over her coloring book and her pen, and she'll sit there and color, and I'll color, and I'm like, okay. And so I'm de-stressing, and like you said, I'm giving her example of, I'm stressed out, I'm going to do something for me. You can sit next to me, but I'm doing something for me.
Yeah.
And then trying to teach her by doing, right? So it's that whole concept of
Yep.
teaching.
Of course. I mean, you're a model 100% of the time. Your children are watching and hearing and seeing everything that you do, whether you want them to or not.
Right.
So, if you show them it's important to take care of me, and, to have some downtime, then it's going to integrate into their lives as well. Absolutely.
And
And I think it's also really cool when you, as a family, because I think the more you involve the whole family dynamic, the easier it makes it be, because then it's just a part of the routine, it's a part of the expectation. But I love it when families take turns, right? So one of my a family that I work with, what they do is every night it's someone's responsibility for cooking. So every night is, you get to pick what the menu is, you get to cook it, you get to ask for sous chefs, everything like that. And that's an activity that's a part of their routine. And that's something that is, that's their leisure, that's their recreation, that's how they're engaging with one another. But it's also helping them in that moment to kind of like just decompress at the same time.
Well, I really appreciated you talking about the need to create boundaries, and making sure that people understand that that's your time and that's your thing. And before pandemic, my husband and I each had a night out, and it was like Monday night was his night, Tuesday night was my night. And as we kind of went along with this, sometimes he'd get home later and later on Tuesday night, and I had to kind of go, Tuesday night is my night. Like, you have to come home at 6:30. I'm out the door. Like, I'm meeting a friend. I'm going to have a movie. I'm going to sit and just write for a while or do art for a while somewhere. And it's showing that your time is valuable and your time is important. But then, like you said too, it's also showing the kids that, dad respects mom, and mom needs time for herself too. And dad's showing a good example of what, dads should be, and how they support parents, right? How parents support parents.
Of course. And to take it a step further, it's setting boundaries with yourself as well, right? Because how easy it is to say, oh, I don't need to do that today. Oh, you're right. To keep pushing off our own selves as a priority and our own self-care, right? So creating the boundaries with others and with with our spouses and with our family, but also with ourselves. Right? Yeah. Knowing when to say no, and knowing when to put our foot down and be like, nope, I need to do this.
I need to.
Even if it's 30 seconds, even if it's 30 seconds, like, It's
Yeah.
just, the easiest go-to for me, I love music. So the easiest go-to for me if I need it is like if I only have enough time to listen to one song and just tune out from everything, then that's good enough for me, right? So it's even finding those activities that you can do for 30 seconds, 3 minutes, those short things, so that if you don't get to your full routine of the day or your full outing that you want to do, to hold yourself accountable to your own boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this was really wonderful, Jess. And I really appreciate you taking your time to come on today and to give us all of that really wonderful information. So, again, you can find Jess at Platform to Play, which I love the name of your company. I think it's
Thank you.
fantastic. And, I look forward to working with you. And hopefully, once COVID is over with, we'll have you out and doing some play activities with the Dames members. I think that would just be awesome.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I thank you so much for having me. And please, I encourage you both and anyone else that watches this to sign up for the parent sessions, because they're really a blast, because it's parents from all different states and just coming together virtually. And it's just a great time to get together and just we play kid-like games and have some fun while building those strategies that we all need. So hopefully I'll see you both there and others as well, because it's a great opportunity.
Okay.
Sounds great. Well, we look forward to seeing you there, Jess.
Okay.
We hope you enjoyed this webinar, and we look forward to seeing you at the next one. If you would like to watch more webinars like this, please go to our website at www.damesusa.com.